it could well be, I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. But it could well be that at 10 o'clock on election night, Trump is winning in Michigan, he's winning in Pennsylvania, he's winning in Wisconsin, and he gets on the television, he says, "Thank you, Americans, for reelecting me. It's all over. Have a good day." But then the next day and the day following, all of those mail-in ballots start getting counted, and it turns out that Biden has won those states. At which point Trump says, "See, I told you the whole thing was fraudulent. I told you those mail-in ballots were crooked. And we're not going to leave office." So that is a worry that I and a lot of people have. So the results, we don't know what's happened. Maybe the results will be on election day.
That was a little bit of prophecy from Bernie Sanders several months ago, saying exactly what was going to happen yesterday. Welcome back to the Daily Faded. Today is November 4th, 2020, the day after Election Day in the 2020 presidential election. I have to watch my phone because, yes, Hamza, these last 2 days have been disappointing. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. I'm actually expecting a guest tonight, so stay tuned. Before we get involved with anything else, let's catch up on our coronavirus numbers. Here's nCoV Live, which I actually always need to get at just the right time, so I don't have all the totals here, but as of 3:47 p.m. was 48 million cases around the world, 1.2 million deaths around the world. In the United States, we're over 9.7 million cases, and we had over 100,000 today. 239,749 coronavirus deaths so far. We had over 1,000, over 1,100 today. And here in California, we have 950,180 confirmed cases. We are no longer the highest case state. That is now Texas. And 2,776 new cases today. 40 new deaths today, bringing us to 17,792 deaths in California. Every one of those lives, brother, mother, sister, father, cousin, all that good stuff. So hold on one second here, because ta-da!
Hi.
Catherine Brobeck is here with us again tonight.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly fine. How are you doing?
I don't know. How are you doing?
I'm copacetic. I'm copacetic. To tell you the truth, I never got all that worked up yesterday.
Yeah. There was a sense of numbness about it, I think, because we were so, it was like such this load of expectation that I don't know, I didn't have anything else to be worked up about, I guess.
Well, for me, I was watching David Pakman's live election live stream, and he was saying that he was like, I'm 20% panicked, I'm 25% panicked, and I was like, but all of the states that are going to Trump are not states that Biden needs. So I'll start panicking when it states that Biden absolutely needs.
Florida hurt, even though we didn't need Florida.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where, as a Democrat, especially one old enough to remember 2000, you see that go red, and like the dread level goes up like drastically.
Yeah. Well, and also the thing is, I was surprised. I wasn't like hugely worried, but I was surprised because once again, just like 4 years ago, I believed what the mainstream media told me about what to expect on election night. And that's the last time I'll ever believe, I hope, that I know what they're talking about. But anyway.
I mean, I feel honestly really dumb about the whole thing, because I was saying this to somebody. I'm so distracted. Like the idea that like I was going to be successful at doing anything today was already like a long shot. And then I went to bed early last night. I turned the TV off because I had to. And I got up at like 6 this morning, and all I could do was and everybody kept calling me, and I was like, I don't know what you're calling me. Like, am I supposed to be like paranoid or reassuring? Like, what is my role supposed to be here? Because I was frustrated to the extent that I felt stupid, because like I am the most cynical person, you know that. And
yes, you are.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I could not get over it. I just like legitimately thought, I mean, I knew that there were going to be certain states in play, obviously, but I thought it was going to be a bigger repudiation, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Look, I thought the voter turnout meant it was going to be a big old repudiation of Trump. But that wasn't to be. Which is why I called this episode of my live stream Red Mirage, Blue Fail, because I am extremely disappointed in the Democrats. But before we get to that, whoops, what did I do? See that? I'm still learning how to do all of this. So here we have our current state of the race. Nothing has come new out of Nevada all day long. It's been stuck at 86%. And did you hear about this? There was a weird thing with Nevada where they were going to like not give out any information the rest of the day. Like they were taking the rest of the day off. And then later in the day, all of a sudden they said, oh, we might release some data tonight, but they haven't.
Well, I had on right before I joined you. It's still on in the background. I had on the TV, and they were showing footage of Arizona where mega people were trying to like storm the.
Yeah, I thought I saw that in Michigan, not in Arizona.
Oh, I think it was in Arizona just now.
Oh, wow, because I saw it on MSNBC in Detroit earlier. That was happening at one of the vote counting centers.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to be like wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was Arizona a few minutes ago. So
yeah, well, I think Biden's going to win Arizona and Nevada, and I think he's going to win. I also think he's got a real chance of winning Georgia now.
It's close.
It's only 0.6% right now. Look at that. It's 31,000 votes. You know, that he could make up 31,000 votes.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly that other things.
Ooh, in Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but look at how Pennsylvania, it was 10 points this morning, then it was 5 points this afternoon, and now it's 2.7 points.
Well, mail-in ballots. I mean,
yeah,
this is always going to be the issue, though.
Yeah.
And it's like so. I voted in person, you know.
So did I. I didn't want to take a chance of my mail-in ballot getting thrown out, not getting delivered, or frankly, I just can't do my signature the same way twice. So I just think it would be discarded because of my signature wouldn't match. So
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it was the easiest voting experience. I vote in every election. Like I vote in, the local dog catcher election. Like
mhm.
I
As do I.
and I vote in all of them. And it was the easiest election I've ever voted in. And it wasn't close. It was so easy to vote in person that I was surprised. I was expecting to have to wait a long time or have it be difficult. And, LA changed its system this year.
Yeah, I know.
So
Obviously.
so I'd had a weird experience in the primary, I guess in March, and was like bewildered. And, no offense to the elderly, but when I voted in the primary,
Nothing
was
good is coming when you start a sentence.
no,
with
I
no
know,
offense to the elderly.
yeah, I'm starting on a bad foot. But I voted in the primary and had never seen the new voting machines before and was like, and the proctors were essentially like, we don't know, and I was like, okay, this is not helpful. And then when I voted for the presidential election, it was there was one elderly gentleman outside who had hand sanitizer and
Mhm.
doused me in hand sanitizer. And I went inside and everybody was millennials. And I was like, yeah, millennials. Like, hey, we're getting the job done. So great. Like, I'm happy to see us be actually effective or something. And it was so fast. I mean, it
That's
took me
great.
5 minutes.
Took me about a half an hour. I had a little bit of a wait. Allie actually worked the polls on Friday and Monday, which was a lot. They were long days. I don't think I could do that. I could try. Hamza, it's good to see you in the chat. It's good to see you back on the stream, buddy. Sorry about that, Catherine. So I wanted to talk about this New York Times article because I think it's fantastic. The thing is, look, I think Joe Biden is going to win. There isn't a lot that needs to be said from a standpoint of everyone's been following the news. We all know where we stand. We're waiting for Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and Georgia. And there's a couple of ways Joe Biden can win. So rather than try and do any additional analysis that really doesn't need to be done, I just want to do some schadenfreude about Trump. Fox's Arizona call for Biden flipped the mood at Trump headquarters. The Fox News decision left the president fuming and his team complaining. Then he began casting aspersions on other states' vote counts. With Florida looking red early on Tuesday night, President Trump and his advisors thought they were witnessing a repeat of election night 2016 when a victory in Florida foreshadowed a victory overall. Inside the East Room, the mood was upbeat as hundreds of people, including cabinet secretaries, ambassadors, and former officials who have remained loyal to Mr. Trump, mingled and dined on sliders and French fries. Officials who had been pessimistic about sliders and French fries, right? They're lucky it wasn't Big Macs and French fries.
But the article doesn't note. It might be.
Right, it might have been. It could, because I'm sure that Donald Trump's idea of a slider is a McDonald's cheeseburger. That's a small one, right? Anyway, that Mirage. Dined on sliders and fries. Officials who had been pessimistic about the president's re-election chances suddenly started to picture 4 more years in power. That mirage of victory was pierced when Fox News called Arizona for former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. at 11:20 p.m. with just 73% of the state's vote counted. Mr. Trump and his advisors erupted at the news. If it was true that Arizona was lost, it would call into doubt any claim of victory the president might be able to make. What ensued for Mr. Trump was a night of angry calls to Republican governors and advice from campaign aides that he ignored, leading to a middle-of-the-night presidential briefing in which he made a reckless and unsubstantiated string of remarks about the democratic process. Standing in the East Room at 2:30 a.m., he dismissed the election as a fraud and claimed he wanted to stop the counting of votes and leave the results to the Supreme Court.
Democracy in action.
I love the image of Trump losing his stuff when Fox calls Arizona.
I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that they were that optimistic to begin with. Like, you can see how he's surrounded by blowhards and sycophants, because why would you have been that optimistic to begin with, right?
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
you and I would not have.
No. No.
So I mean, I wasn't optimistic about Biden. Like, I mean, I was just sitting in dread. So the fact that you're the president of the United States and you're sitting there being like, yes, clearly I won, and then like throw like a hissy fit says basically all that you have to know about him, right? I mean, like, not that we didn't know everything about him to begin with.
Right, right. Oh my God, I wish I had the book with me, but I'm reading Fear, which is Woodward's first book.
Yeah.
I read Rage, and I actually really enjoyed it. So now I'm reading Fear, and there's a paragraph. I wish I could do it. I wish I could read it because Woodward wrote it beautifully. But there's a paragraph where he describes Trump, that Melania and Donald sleep in separate bedrooms. So Trump is alone in his bedroom with his TV, his TiVo, and his Twitter, and he's like screaming at the TV all of the time. And he just sounds like such a desperate, maudlin Shakespearean character, you know?
Do you believe in the fake Melania theory?
You need to tell me more about the fake Melania theory.
Well, I mean, because like there was one, especially in the lead up to the election, there was a Melania encounter where she kissed him and held his hand. And so, you know, the theory has long been that there are like 4 Melanias.
Okay.
And, you know, like Secret Service wise, whatever,
Right.
that she doesn't like going to the events. So
Right.
that she has a bunch of stand-ins. But the most recent one has been that that it's like literally not her at events. And so that was the one I don't know if it was in Pennsylvania or where it was, but the one that was like kissing him and like, you know, holding his hand, and it was like, well, that doesn't seem like Melania.
Look at that one had to be fake.
Yeah, it had to be fake, right? And so, but you know, they of course have insisted that that is like crazy conspiracy theory, which very well might be. Very well might be. But it is funny to watch the difference in some of the appearances versus the person who like slapped his hand away, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, look at how wild Trump's mood swings are. So I imagine that might have a way of putting you into kind of crazy moods. One of the things that I got a lot of schadenfreude out of this New York Times article was about Arizona, and how Brad Parscale had begged Trump to go to Arizona more, and Brad Parscale had begged Trump to stop talking shit about John McCain.
Yeah, well,
Trump didn't go to Arizona because he didn't want to spend the night out west.
Well, he could have just gone to Nevada, because when he went to Utah, he just went to his hotel in Las Vegas. So
yeah, but
like, I don't know.
He didn't go to the state that he lost that could have made a difference because he didn't want to.
It's okay. Brad Parscale has like that Lambo that he got off of campaign funds. So,
Yeah,
you know,
right?
he doesn't matter to him.
Which he'll probably need to sell for court fees. And lawyer fees.
I mean, I just
I don't want to mock someone who is dealing with mental illness issues, but I do want to mock Brad Parscale for being Brad Parscale.
Right. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to mock anybody lest there happens to be a recount someplace or whatever, and we're making fun of something that is not done yet. And so I'm being very hesitant and hedging my bets about what I say, lest we end up in, Florida 2000 situation. So,
Right.
but,
It
I
could
will
still
say
happen.
it could still happen. I mean,
Yeah,
it
could
really
still happen.
legitimately could still happen. Although I will say I'm wearing a Minnesota sweatshirt
Oh,
because
excellent.
my state went blue
I
and
know.
we reelected Tina Smith.
And there was
Yeah.
huge turnout in Ilhan Omar's district.
She won by a massive amount.
What do you know what it was?
I think she won by no, I don't at the top of my head, but it was like tens and tens of thousands of votes she won by. Of course, she's
That's awesome.
representing Metro Minneapolis, and that is the firewall there.
Yeah.
Because if you looked at a lot of other numbers in Minnesota, they went red. So we lost a House seat in Minnesota.
Also, Rashida Tlaib did the same thing in Detroit. She drove really huge turnout in Detroit and won a huge margin. So that's affecting the Michigan totals.
Yeah, I phone banked from Minnesota over the weekend. And I mean, I suppose you could make an argument that I should have been phone banking for Arizona or Nevada or something, but my thought process was I will be damned if I let my state go red. So anything I can do to help, I will help that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything over the weekend, but I did do some phone banking for a congressional candidate in my district who lost, unfortunately. And I did some door knocking and some other stuff.
Did you actually do door knocking?
Well, it wasn't real door knocking. It was door hangers. So just walk up, hang a door hanger. If you see anyone, engage from 6 feet away, kind of protocol. But it was also 120 degrees, and I was doing it with the mask and my sunglasses and my hat on, and I felt like I was in Burning Man or something.
It's so odd because both of the last two elections, including the midterms in 2018, I door knocked in prison, and in 2016, I was in Nevada. So, and it was odd.
Don't forget the fundraising you did for Eric Garcetti. I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to say that in public?
I'm never going to live that down. And thankful. Well, yeah, thank you for broadcasting to your handful of viewers that I, in fact, did participate in a 20-something for Garcetti the first time he ran. yeah. But
hold on a second, though. You can be forgiven for the errors of your youth. Hamza just asked thoughts on Gascon. Do you have thoughts on Gascon?
Yeah, I voted for him.
Yeah, I did too. I'm very excited about the fact that he won.
I think people are really angry.
Jackie Lacey was terrible. She was terrible.
Terrible. And, there were, the groups that I volunteer with have been angry at him for years, or angry at her for years. Yeah. And so they were 100%, pro booting her. And I think, I don't want to be overly optimistic about Los Angeles politics, but I'm glad that apparently other people shared the sentiment, I suppose.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a big win for Black Lives Matter LA because they've been protesting her, and DSA LA have been protesting her for years. And they created a lot of public awareness around Jackie Lacey, and basically that she won't prosecute killer cops, and that's what it comes down to. You got to get rid of her. That's unacceptable.
Well, and I mean, again, I volunteer with a group that is a bunch of mainstream Democrat ladies, mostly.
I'm working on radicalizing you.
I know you're trying, and you're possibly succeeding, actually. But they are largely a group of moms, I mean, not that they don't have jobs, but they're like, 50 something year old
Uh-huh.
professional ladies. I'm like definitely on the younger end of the spectrum. And so these are not radical people, and they hated Lacey. So,
Oh, wow, that's great.
yeah.
That's great. Well, that's why he won. He won by a lot too. It was
Yeah,
what,
they did
54%
like
of the vote, I
they did
think.
a bunch of events and stuff, like Zooms, etc. for him.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think it's important. Because here's the other thing that you have to be, and also, it's sort of like they sent out an email that I thought was really funny because you don't hear it that often. But they sent out an email before the election that was like about how they were voting for judges in particular. And their rule of thumb was if it's a DA, don't vote for them.
That was my rule. That's how I voted. I voted
Yeah.
against the DA every time.
Yep, that I think it's a good standard
It
because
is a good
like
standard.
yeah, one of my best friends is a lawyer in Louisiana, and a social justice lawyer in Louisiana, and she has nothing but bad things to say about the DAs.
Of course. Well, the way I looked at it was, if you're a DA, then you've been about incarcerating people. That's your frame of reference. That's what you understand. That's how you look at the world. So what are you going to do as a judge? You're going to send people away. I'm not. You're predisposed to thinking incarceration is some kind of solution or some kind of justice or something like that. And I think, yeah. So to me, it was easy to not vote for the DAs.
Right. And I mean, I think that in general, the system that is supporting that is messed up because, it's every election, right? You get the DAs on the ballot because that's who's going to run to be a judge. And you either have to reform the DA system, the prosecution system in a county, you have to look towards reform in that regard, which again, getting rid of Lacey is going to help that because hopefully you're going to get some more equitable justice, I guess, with who is arrested and prosecuted. Because, that's not a decision left up to the police. It's not a decision left up to the prosecutors. It's a combined decision.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to lecture anybody about the basic premise of the television show Law and Order, like everybody knows, but it's a little bit surprising because it's almost like people don't know. If you think about Law and Order having been on for 30 years or whatever, or some variation of Law and Order being on for 30 years, it's still surprising how many people don't actually know how the justice system works.
Right. Yeah. No, it is true. Hey, how about I'm very disappointed about Prop 15 and Prop 22.
The 22 thing surprised me, like significantly.
Didn't surprise me. They told people that it was going to take longer to get an Uber, and that was it.
My friend's former roommate, he was a rich white guy, perfectly decent guy. I'm not going to cast more aspersions than I need to on him. He told my buddy that, well, he was going to vote yes because insurance should not be held to your employer, which, yeah, we all agree on that point. Every single one of us, I think, agrees that, yeah, insurance should not be tied to your employer. But the fact of the matter is that is ignoring so many things about what a contractor versus employee means.
Well, and it's also it's devoid from the experience, the lived experience, as they say, of Uber drivers, which is you don't get paid when you're waiting for your next passenger. You don't get paid to drive to pick up your passenger, and you pay for all of the expenses. And at the end of the day, you frequently make less than minimum wage. So the argument that they should be independent contractors is absurd. It's just absurd. And they're just the company, they hail it as this like landmark tech company, but all it is an app that allows you to exploit labor. That's really what it comes down to. And
it's nothing more than that. I mean, it's
all it is.
GPS. It's GPS tied to the exploitation of labor.
Yeah, that's all it is. So, fuck Uber and fuck Lyft. I hate them.
I mean, I have to say, I feel, forever guilty about how much I rely on them, and also how much I use like Postmates and Instacart, etc., especially during the pandemic. I never used to use them before, but now, I mean, like, listen, I got like takeout delivered to me tonight from Postmates. So, like, I'm like guilty. Like, I suppose if we all stopped using them in like some sort of boycott against our practices, clearly that would be better than the ballot. But the thing is, like, we're sort of reliant on convenience, right? It's a problem with Amazon. Because like I tell like my listeners on my podcast or whatever, I tell them, shop at your local bookstore. Like, even now during the pandemic, go to your local bookstore's website, buy from them. It's going to support them. It's going to keep them in business. But it's not like I don't still order from Amazon on occasion, because I do.
Right.
Like, I'm far less than perfect in that regard.
Well, look, I talk smack about
so long
Uber
as you get anybody.
Yeah, I talk smack about Uber and Lyft, but I got Grubhub the other day, so I should shut up. But then there's that whole thing. What is that thing like? Oh, forget it. I can't explain it. It's a meme. I can't explain it. If I could, I would.
Wait, now I want to know what it is.
There's a meme. Okay, it's like a proletariat character, like someone like in the beginning of Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they're flinging shit, like peasant. Mm-hmm. It's a peasant, and the peasant is got a thought bubble over his head, and he's saying, boy, it would be nice if society was a little bit nicer. And then there's a guy popping out of a hole in the ground, and he's like, you criticize society, and yet you live in society. I am intelligent. That's, it's like the ultimate, like, oh, you're a socialist, but you have nice clothes. How can you be a socialist?
Yeah, I mean, did you see? I'm not, but like, did you see the people trying to? I mean, it was coming from the right, but the people shit talking AOC for being on the cover of Vanity Fair.
Yeah, I mean, they're such idiots.
It's like, you don't get. By the way, you don't get those clothes. Like,
no,
like,
it's a photo shoot.
It's a photo shoot. I know. Like, by the way, though, if it were me, and I got to be on the cover of Vanity Fair wearing like a $16,000 outfit, I might like walk away, just like accidentally.
Right. Totally. Anyway, I wanted to do a little bit more of the Schadenfreude. Trump's madness this morning. Actually, fuck that. I'm not going to play Trump. Who wants to watch Trump? This morning at 7:17 a.m. How come every time they count mail-in ballot dumps, they are so devastating in their percentage and power of destruction? Like, I'm sorry, what kind of sentence is that?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? How come every time they count mail-in ballot dumps? Does he think that because it jumps 50,000 that they just dumped 50,000 ballots and sorted them or something? What does he think is happening?
He does. Work? I mean, the man's brain is made out of mush. So,
and they're so devastating in their percentage and power of destruction. What does that mean? Does that mean that when that happens, Cory Booker is invading the suburbs? whenever it jumps.
No clue.
Um,
Speaking of Schadenfreude, did you read? I only knew this as of yesterday. I saw it, I think, on Medium, and it was an article about Kimberly Guilfoyle's rise. And by the way, okay, so I mean, obviously, I knew that at one point she was, married to Newsom. Obviously,
right.
We all knew that.
The best part of Gavin Newsom's biography.
For sure. I had no idea what her rise was. And I read this article and it was a long form article. I'll find it and I'll send it to you later, but it was like documenting the dog biting case, which I was literally unaware of. I would have been in high school when it happened, I guess. And I did not know that that's how she achieved fame, but the story about it is insane, especially because the woman in the dog biting case is still in prison in California. Talking about prosecutors.
Wait, what did Kimberly Guilfoyle have to do with this? I'm sorry, I lost.
She was the prosecutor. The reason she became famous was she prosecuted this dog biting case in San Francisco.
That's right. I remember that now. Okay, I'm sorry. I am smoking weed and I spaced out for a second. So.
Well, I mean, I'm not smoking weed and I did not know about it until yesterday. So, yeah, but I vaguely remembered. I vaguely remembered the dog biting story.
Do you think at the end do you think when she was done talking to the jury, she was like, and the dog bit and killed the baby?
I mean, I kind of wondered if maybe the Mastiff had bit Kimberly Guilfoyle and hence gave her rabies, and that's maybe her operating principle over the past decade. Yeah.
Yeah. They are finding Biden votes all over the place in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So bad for our country.
What does that mean?
It sounds like.
What does that mean?
It sounds like hunting for Easter eggs.
Yeah, they're finding Biden votes
all over. Found some ballots under a bush.
Here's the other thing, that if you had a sensible conservative party in this country, you would be really, really offended that military ballots are not being counted. Right?
I know. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
I like this one. They are working hard to make up 500,000 vote advantage in Pennsylvania disappear ASAP. Likewise, Michigan and others. That's unhinged. That doesn't make any sense. This one, of course, was the tweet of the day, the tweet that shook the world. We have claimed for electoral vote purposes the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which won't allow legal observers, the state of Georgia, and the state of North Carolina, each one of which has a big Trump lead. Additionally, we hereby claim the state of Michigan if, in fact, ... There was a large number of secretly dumped ballots, as has been widely reported.
What does the secretly dumped ballots mean? What does that mean?
Oh, I know. What is he talking about? And what's great, of course, is that it's been widely reported because he's been watching OANN, and I'm sure they're covering it nonstop over there, but that doesn't make it real.
It's also one of the things that I was apparently the least lucky phone banker in Minnesota over the weekend because I apparently got every single sick person.
Oh, jeez.
And so I just kept getting calls that was like, oh, it's so nice that you called. I'm in the hospital. And I was like, and so it was an ordeal because you had to figure out how they could vote, right? And it's not an even process. It depends on your jurisdiction. It depends on where you are, what the day is, if they could do something on Monday versus what they could do yesterday on election day, it was entirely contingent on like multiple factors. And like, I have to say, people were really grateful. Like, I got a combination of the elderly and some very young voters, like 22-year-olds, who like literally, I had one girl and her boyfriend who she was hacking out a lung. It sounded like she had COVID.
Jesus.
And so, but she was like, I just don't quite know what to do. She was like, is it helpful that I'm registered to vote? And I was like, well, Minnesota has same day registration, same as California. But I was like, yeah, of course. Like, let me help you. Let me figure out like what we can do for you. But the idea that people are just dumping ballots, like our election laws have made it extremely hard to vote.
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, look, Allie just, worked the polls.
Yeah.
And she said she's completely convinced that our election is 100% on the line because she was so impressed by all of the procedures and how well thought out it was and how many safeguards there are for everything that they do. And she's just really convinced that I think the new voting system has one flaw, which is the scrolling issue on the computer screens. It's
really hard to use.
Yeah,
I had a hard time using it, which is really stupid. I was just checking my vote, and I was like, why can't I like?
And then did you see the little icon for scrolling? Eventually,
there's an arrow at the bottom. Yeah, there's an arrow at the bottom. But
it is the one thing that they have to fix. I think everything else about the way.
Did you use the smart ballot?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it was great. I told every single person I knew about it because I was like, holy shit, this is like the best invention of all time. I just filled it out like in the middle of the night on my computer, right? And a poll pass. It's called poll pass.
Yeah, I did poll pass too. It's pretty awesome to go up and flash them a barcode and
also you have to double verify, right? You already have to fill it out.
Yeah.
You then have to verify it on the thing that won't scroll. And then it prints it out another time. So you have to verify it in print too. I mean, it's like a really good invention. Like, thank you, Los Angeles County, because
it's great. I think it's great. Another one here. Our lawyers have asked for meaningful access, but what good does that do? The damage has already been done to the integrity of our system and to the presidential election itself. This is what should be discussed. Again, I don't even know what that means. One of my favorite follows on Twitter, Bourgeois Alien, quote tweeting Michael Crowley tweeting, CNN's Dana Bash says a source tells her Trump is feeling down and starting to see this slip away. And Beth tweeted, cry more, bitch. God, look, obviously we can't celebrate. We can't,
and by the way,
we can't make any assumptions.
No,
you
first
can't
of
make any
all,
assumptions.
we're not jinxing anything, so we're not doing that. And secondly, I don't think even if Biden wins, it's a celebration because I just think that it's so.
Look, I agree with you. I think we should be in a time of national mourning right now. I really do.
Yeah.
I think Biden should declare a day of national mourning and tell everyone to, take the day off.
Well, and I mean,
and do something to remember people who've been lost. I really do, because this nation is not. Remember all of the personal stories that came out of 9/11? All of the stories of, people who missed their plane or, people who ran up when everyone else was running down, all of the amazing stories that came out of 9/11. And we only lost, it's terrible. We lost 3,000 people at 9/11, but we've lost, I don't know, 200 9/11s. I don't know. I'm not a math genius anymore.
Well, and I mean, if you think about the fact that
We should be overwhelmed with the amount of stories, and we should be fascinated and interested in them in the way that we were with 9/11. I think I know I am. I watch the evening news just to see them.
Well, there's it's a psychological phenomenon that I forgot what the name of it is, but essentially it's about scale, right? And so if like 3 people on your street got run over by a car,
right,
you would know every single detail about them. You would look at that spot every time you walked on your street, and you would think about those 3 people who were run over by a car and died. When it becomes incalculable, when it becomes such this mass proportion of people, we tend to shut down specifics. And it's in part a self-defense mechanism, right, that the brain does. So you do it in war, right, and mass trauma. But as a result, and we're going on 8 months of lockdown, and yeah, you're right, we've never had an accounting for the people who've died from coronavirus. And the stupid president of the United States has never acknowledged the people who died. And that's like the thing about it is it's so callous and unforgivable. And you would hope that most people in their day-to-day lives would be more sympathetic, I suppose, to other people. You would hope that, but then you look at like these rallies and stuff, and I guess a lot of people are now lacking like an empathy gene. I mean, it just seems like they are, because I don't understand how I have empathy towards Trump voters. Like, I do.
Of course. Me too. I want them all to have healthcare, education, housing, and a job.
Right.
I want to do something a little bit different, because I'm definitely gonna. I think we'll be done in a little bit, in around 9. But I want to show Biden, because I thought, I think it's interesting to see how Biden spoke. So
it's been a more difficult time for our country, a hard time. We've had hard campaigns before. We've faced hard times before. So once this election is finalized and behind us, it'll be time for us to do what we've always done as Americans: to put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us, to lower the temperature, to see each other again, to listen to one another, to hear each other again, and respect and care for one another, to unite, to heal, to come together as a nation. I know this won't be easy. I'm not naive. Neither of us are. I know how deep and hard the opposing views are in our country on so many things. But I also know this as well. To make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as enemies. We are not enemies. What brings us together as Americans is so much stronger than anything that can tear us apart. So let me be clear. We are campaigning as a Democrat, but I will govern as an American president.
It's so interesting to me, because that's pretty much pablum.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Although,
Although,
it's
he
standard
said
fare.
you cut out a different line that he had, which I had written down earlier. I think I ended up tweeting it, but he very, very simply said, and just again, very simply said, he said, a government of by and for the people is very much
Yes.
America.
Yeah. Look,
And you know what? Like, it is like, even that is pablum, but it's pablum that to us should mean something, because that is what we are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that, in a normal election year, you would hear that and you'd go, oh, okay, standard election speech. kind of a watered down version of Obama's no red states and no blue states. It's a more homey, touchy feely, creepy Uncle Joe kind of way of saying it. But in this moment, I thought it was terrific.
Yeah.
And it's,
And
I'm
also, and
going
like
to be
also,
nice to Joe Biden for about 24 hours, and that's about it. But
sure, and that's fine. That's all that's needed, right? That's
Yeah.
all that is needed. And
Yeah.
that's sort of a buy-in for the people. If you do not believe in that, you do not believe in the existence of this country. And like I think that we are in a very fine line right now, whether or not, this nation or any nation so conceived
Right.
can hold. I mean, we are standing there right now. We really are. And if you look at the people protesting in Michigan or Arizona or whatever against votes being counted, you are very much standing again on that sort of civil war ground. And I think the funniest thing to me is that, like, if you were driving around Los Angeles in the last few days, you saw everything boarded up, right? Like with the anticipation of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there hasn't been, because we don't know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I actually think, I don't know, we'll see. I don't think the legal actions the Republicans are taking, I don't think they're going to make it, because they don't have sound legal arguments. So even with the
When has that stopped them in the past?
look,
Exactly.
no, it won't stop the Republicans, but even with one out of four judges on the federal bench being a Trump appointee, I still don't think. I mean, when they say you should just stop counting them because we said you should stop counting them, they don't have a reason. So I don't think it's going to go that far. I could be wrong, of course, but I don't think it's going to go that far. And I think if it doesn't go that far, and really it was all about saving face for Donald Trump, and the lawsuits were more of a con job than anything else, then it will have all been Y2K. 2020 the 2020 election will have been Y2K. Right? Because, oh my God, we thought it was going to be this awful thing, civil unrest.
No, okay. So I want to clarify something about that, because we use that as a joke. Oh my God, like Y2K, it's like the boogeyman. But the thing about it is, people freaked out about it so much that everybody took precautions. It's a little bit like a pandemic, let's say. Whereas if you have precautions put in place, if nothing happens, if it's like the swine flu and nothing happens, you look super over-prepared and crazy. But in the chance that perhaps you get COVID, being prepared would have made a difference. And so that's the same with Y2K. Y2K is not a thing, and it's something that we can joke about because nothing happened. But you can't necessarily tell if like every IT person in the world was overreacting or not, because nothing bad happened.
Yeah, no, but if look, there's two parts to it being Y2K as I see it. And again, this is only predicated on the idea that these lawsuits are not going to be effective, and the Supreme Court is basically not going to have an opportunity to weigh in on throwing out enough votes to turn the election over to Trump. That's what I think is going to happen. So if I'm right, if that is what happens, it will have been Y2K in two ways. One, we were all fucking worried for all this time, and then we were all worried on Tuesday, and when Florida went, everybody started drinking more heavily. But in fact, in the end, it was okay, and Joe won. But the other Y2K part of it is like also the much ballyhooed 8 points to 9 points that Joe Biden was up, and the Democrats retaking the Senate. That didn't come to pass either. So another Y2K that didn't come didn't turn out to be all it was advertised to be.
Well, I mean, and the reality is, and why we should not be celebrating, even if Joe comes through and wins, which again, knock on wood, I clearly hope and it seems likely to happen. But like the fact that we didn't take back the Senate makes it all sort of a moot point because you still get Mitch McConnell. So, unless Mitch McConnell dies, I mean, like.
No. The Democrats not winning back the Senate is political malpractice. And I will tell you something. So Fox, have you heard about the Fox exit polls?
Which ones?
So Fox exit polling, this goes to the Senate and the Democrats, what I consider to be political malpractice. The Democrats ran on Donald Trump is evil and we have to get rid of him, and the pandemic. That's what most of them ran on. Biden just ran on Trump. He didn't talk about the issues much at all. And most people I know can't name any of his policies or plans. I'm sure you can, and I can, but
yeah, I was like, you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah,
so.
We're both the wrong person for that in that regard. In any case, so the Fox exit poll, 52% of people supported Obamacare. 43% of voters in their exit polling wanted the Supreme Court to overturn Obamacare. So very dicey on Obamacare, obviously more support for it than hatred of it. But then 72% of voters want Medicare for all. I think the Democratic Party keeps either losing or underperforming because they refuse to go left. And this is now 2 cycles in a row where they had extreme moderates running. And Joe Biden just barely won and didn't create enough energy to win back the Senate. I mean, anyway, I just think when the issues are on your side, run on the issues.
As somebody, again, who has door knocked, I mean, it was harder this cycle for sure. But so they say, I don't know if it's true or not, but they say that the most effective way of converting votes is in fact door knocking. Mm-hmm. It's doing it in person. And which is always funny to me because like the fuck if I would open my door to a stranger, like not a chance in hell. But like, as somebody who has door knocked, it is useful. And one of the things they tell you as effective strategy is to pick local issues. So you don't talk about like, we need a Green New Deal. We need, Medicare. Those are not things that you should be talking about when you are, I mean, maybe they were telling people this cycle, but every single previous time I've done it in person, basically if you were like I did it in 2018 and like, I was like in Long Beach, right? And Orange County. And like the stuff that you talk about was like offshore drilling off of the coast of California. And like people don't want that. So like vote for like Harley Ruda, et cetera, instead of, pick something that is incredibly specific to the neighborhood and to the people who you're addressing. Because all politics are local, right? That's an axiom. I know that seems stupid, but it's an axiom for a reason.
But it's not true. It's not true. It's not true.
It is true. No, it is true.
No, it's not true because 7 states, including South Dakota, either legalized or decriminalized drugs and marijuana.
Yeah, but that's been a 20-year process.
I understand that. But why isn't Joe Biden running on legalizing marijuana? It's the most obvious thing in the world.
20-year process. And so you're picking something that is then at the same time a broad scale thing that is like expanded.
What I'm telling you is it will get out younger voters and you will attract voters who might not otherwise vote.
Younger voters don't
Because
vote.
this whole playing to Republicans thing didn't work. Donald
No,
Trump did better with Republicans in 2020 than he did in 2016. So that whole play to the Republicans thing, failed strategy. It did nothing. It did nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
So when you've got winners, run with the winners.
so
When
I
you've
think
got
that
winning ideas.
here's what I would say to you. I think that we're kind of talking about the same thing, but from two different angles. I think you're wrong about that. But at the same time, I do think that the sort of centrist angle, it was effectively a non-issue. So they shouldn't have run like that. I mean, like, in my opinion, like
With one exception is Arizona. It was effective in Arizona, I think. It looks
Yeah,
like it was
well, and
effective
Kelly-
because he
and
did so
Kelly,
well in
like-
Maricopa County, and because Cindy McCain and the whole John McCain thing was so influential, that I do think it worked in Arizona. But but by and large, the
I was
numbers
surprised the
suggest it didn't
McCain
work
thing.
nationwide.
Yeah, I was surprised the McCain thing didn't have a bigger pull nationwide, in all honesty, because I guess I thought it would. But clearly it basically, I think that you can make one single argument here, and that it's that people are in two camps and we are living in a divided nation, and there's no getting past that. And so what I guess we should consider strongly, and I think that if Biden wins, then I mean, the problem is without the Senate, I don't know. I just don't know effectively what's going to be able to be done.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's a terrible outcome.
It's a terrible outcome.
It's a terrible outcome. But I want to continue on that theme for just a second here, because how great are these Fox images?
Oh yeah, I did see these. These are like so funny because like I saw these.
Voter analysis results, and it's the fucking most annoying person on television, Jesse Waters, and changing to a government-run healthcare plan strongly favor 39%, somewhat favor 33%. And then this one, Supreme Court action on Roe versus Wade. Leave as is, 71%.
Can I ask you a question actually about
I was talking about? U.S. gun laws should be more strict, 55%. And I love this one.
Pathway to citizenship. Yeah, I saw that too. Can I ask a question of you about Roe v. Wade?
Sure.
It's clearly probably now going to be overturned. I mean, we're expecting that to happen, right?
Yeah,
but
I expect that to happen.
Do you think they actually want it to be? Because what would be their like bête noire? What would be their boogeyman that they could scare up voters with if they don't have Roe v. Wade? Because
I don't know.
so many of that evangelical vote is about punishing women. So if you take away the cudgel that's Roe v. Wade, like what do they have left to campaign on? They're just going to be like, oh yeah, this random a-hole like wants to like spend $45 bajillion golfing and screw you over.
I think you're thinking about it like a rational person, and you're not thinking about it in the way that Clarence Thomas thinks about it. You're not thinking about it in the way that Amy Coney Barrett thinks about it, in the way Brett Kavanaugh thinks about it. That's three right there who just want it gone. They just want it gone for different reasons, I think, but they want it gone. So, I think Gorsuch will do what's politically expected of him. So that's 4. Who am I forgetting? Oh, the other
Alito.
Alito.
Alito is more to the right than Gorsuch is. So.
Yeah. So of course. I do think they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade. I do. I think they're going to.
I mean, is that not a fundamental problem for their politicking?
I see what you're saying, but I think there's something else that's really good in their politicking, and that's owning the libs. And there's no better way to own the libs than repealing Obamacare and overturning Roe versus Wade. So anyway, I have to call it a night. Thank you so much for coming on my live stream.
Yeah, on that pleasant ending.
Yeah, I know it's terrible. Oh yeah, my last thing that I had was those images, which I thought were funny. Thank you for coming on. This was awesome. Tell people about your podcast?
Oh yeah, if you don't want to talk about politics, and at this moment, why would you? Like, we're all masochists here apparently. But otherwise, yeah, you can listen to All About Agatha, which I co-host, and which is all about exactly what it says, which is about Agatha Christie. And we just did a podcast last week. We had as our guest Anthony Horowitz, who if you haven't read his books are terrific. He has a new one out next week called The Moonflower Murders, which is great fun. And he's also the creator of Midsummer Murders and Foyle's War.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, I hope you will come back really soon. And I wanted to say thank you to everyone for watching. And remember to hit like, subscribe, and notifications. And this daily is faded. Good night.